Live from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Nooganomics with David Tulis.
Even though the Brookings Institution says we face in our country a declining entrepreneurial dynamism, even so, there are people who blithely disregard this long-term trend against capitalism, against prosperity, and they put their family assets on the line. They buy a business or they build a business. They borrow on their good name for cash with which to develop it, with which to hire people, to pay suppliers, to pay builders, electricians, and all to make yet another branch. And that confidence can go apace without our having to note too directly or too vigorously the larger context, which is that a loss, as that group says, a loss of business dynamism, the loss of churn in society. And churning in business is when new businesses come with a better idea, better product, lower prices, possibly better service, and the current providers, the incumbents give way and close up because they're not doing as good a job and they can't make it. So that's why that you might say a conflict. That's not really a conflict, though. It's really the best use of human beings, where the best survive and the weak go on to do something else, right? They try some other line, or they reformulate their efforts. That's the marketplace, and that makes sure that you, the listener, the consumer, always have the best option available. And the marketplace is there to give you the best. And we want here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio fewer interruptions of that process. We want fewer people to put their hand in there and say, okay, here's what needs to happen. We're going to direct business. Well, in the hamburger field and the hamburger and fries field, there's less really of that than in other fields. And we're talking now with Jim Richards, who runs the local franchise of Five Guys Burgers and Fries. He's married, he has 2 daughters, 2 grandchildren, and he has a son-in-law in Five Guys Burgers and Fries. That's his manager named Brian. No, is he a manager?
Yes,
he's a manager,
general manager.
A general manager. Well, Jim, welcome to our show. Tell us a little bit about Five Guys. You have a franchise at several locations. Tell us where they are and what's afoot in the way of expanding.
Right. We have 8 restaurants currently operating in Chattanooga. Well, in Chattanooga and the greater Tennessee, Dalton area. We've got the one in Hickson, 5110 Hickson Pike. That's a restaurant that's been here the longest. It's a wonderful place, great place to eat. What separates Five Guys from everybody else is not many people know, but we don't have a freezer in our building. All our product is fresh, made every day. We hand ball fresh ground beef every morning. We hand cut potatoes every morning. We slice tomatoes, pull lettuce, get ready for the day every morning. That happens in every Five Guys restaurant. So whether you're in the Hickson restaurant or our Gun Barrel restaurant over in Brainerd, or you're downtown on Broad Street, those things happen every morning. They come in at 8 o'clock in the morning. They start getting ready for the customer. So that's one thing we try to do to really separate ourselves from everybody else, is to have absolutely the freshest possible product. Our buns are delivered to the restaurant 5 days a week. And then we hand prepare that for everybody every morning. So when you come in, you know you're going to get fresh product, and it's going to be cooked right in front of you. So, I mean, you can watch them make your burger for you right in front of you.
Now, this is a finely tuned system that was devised some time ago by the Morrell family. There are 1,000 Five Guys restaurants extant, according to its website, and it says 1,500 more being in process.
Being developed. Yeah, including us. We have one restaurant now under construction in Hendersonville, Tennessee, that should open sometime right before Thanksgiving.
Now, you have 2 areas, one in the Chattanooga area, one in the Nashville area. Is Hendersonville near Nashville?
Yeah, it is. Counties? It's in Sumner County, just northeast of Nashville. It's a great bedroom community.
Well, now tell us a little bit about yourself. You were formerly at Crystal. Where were you before? And tell us about your time at Crystal, and then the transition out from that chain.
Well, I'm a UTK grad, and when I graduated with a degree in geology. And of course, if anybody knows the early 80s, the bottom fell out of the oil industry and there weren't any jobs in that field. So I went to work in a restaurant. I used to work for Mrs. Winter's Chicken and Biscuits that was popular in Tennessee. That brand is now gone. There may be one left here and there, but for pretty much sake, that brand is gone. And then I went into the radio business. So I was with Mrs. Winters for a long time. Then I went in the radio business with my in-laws, and we had 2 radio stations in Knoxville, Tennessee. Operated those for 10 years, sold that company. And then a good friend of mine, Fred Exum, came to work for the Crystal Company to run that company, and he invited me to join him, and I came to work with him as the North Region Director in Nashville. So I moved my family to Nashville, and then Crystal moved me to Chattanooga and I ran the franchise restaurants for the Crystal Company, and I did that for just under 10 years. And then I decided, while I was still young enough, and I wanted to do my own brand again. And I've been watching the Five Guys brand for a number of years because I travel the Southeast a lot for Crystal.
That's the Crystal region then?
Yeah. Crystal's pretty much just in the Southeast. So I kept visiting the Five Guys restaurants, and I love the brand because everything's so fresh. There's no freezer. All the products and they're delicious. So I attempted to buy some restaurants. I tried to get the Nashville market. I missed out on that market. I tried to get the Knoxville market. I missed out on that market. But I did get this market, the Chattanooga market. It's where I live. I live up on Signal Mountain. So we got this market, and we also have Georgia, North Georgia. So I have a restaurant in Dalton. I have Bradley County, so I have a restaurant in Cleveland. And then I've got the Half Moon counties around Nashville. I have Sumner, Wilson, and Rutherford counties. So we have 3 restaurants, pretty soon 4
But
restaurants.
Davidson is the county in which Nashville resides, and that is owned by somebody else. That was the one you wanted initially.
Yeah, that's actually Five Guys Corporate owns that market now. It was a franchise market, but they bought it out.
Is there any difference between a corporate store and a franchise-run store?
No, Jim? In our system, not really. We're held to the same high standards. In some cases, I think the franchise restaurants may operate a little bit better, but we all take very good care of the customer.
We've got a call. Caller, this is David Tulis at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, and you're live on the air. What's on your mind?
Yeah, I don't need to kiss up to your caller, but I love Five Guys. I discovered it in Florida, and when you take the kids there, they go nuts because you have the peanuts. Nobody's been there. You get as many peanuts as you want. And then the potatoes are in the middle. And listen, I don't work for Five Guys, I promise you. But I just love entrepreneurism. And you can watch them cook and everything. And my question is, before I ask you the question, I just want to tell you, I love the hamburgers and the big fries and the peanut. I love Five Guys. I'm a meat and potatoes guy. I'd rather have a hamburger than a steak.
Beautiful. What's your question?
Here's my question, is the people. How do you guys go about, because I noticed in Florida, too, they're friendly. Like if you ask for fries, they give you more fries. They just load them on, And I love that my mother was the last person to make fries like that. They're not like fries you can go and get at fast food restaurants. So 2 questions: how do you do it? Like, how do you open a store like that from scratch? And then where do you get the people? Because they're just, I've never had a bad experience. So I'll listen on the air.
Well, we hire a lot of people. When we open a new restaurant, we hire up to 50, maybe 60 people, because we know we're going to have at least 50% attrition. And we're always hiring. I mean, if you notice, there's always about 20 to 25% of our employees are always coming and going. We try to keep.
What do you mean by that?
Well, our object is always try to keep a core group of people that have been with us that are tenured. And then there's always a group that people think they'd like to be in the restaurant business, but not everybody wants to be on their feet 8 hours a day. Because in the restaurant business, it's very handsy. You're on your feet. You're looking. Customers are staring at you all day long. There's no break. Yeah, as you cook, as you wait on them, as you clean the dining room. Yeah, everything. The customer's always just standing there looking at you. So you got to be able to take that kind of exposure with people looking at you. And then you've got to be able to smile and take great care of that guest. And one of the things we pride ourselves on is, if we make an order wrong, which we do on occasion, we'll put mushrooms on a burger when somebody doesn't want mushrooms, or we'll add mustard when they don't want mustard. We always want to make sure that guest, if they choose to, we will make them a brand new burger. So we'll replace that burger instantly.
I'm getting hungry, Jim Richards. Well,
good.
let's ask about the customer. The caller was wanting to know about, where do you find these people? There's an attrition rate of about half. You say when you start a restaurant, you've got you have one that opened more recently. You have the oldest one is on Hickson Pike, the number in the chain, number 245 on Gun Barrel, a newer restaurant. There, when you opened that, when you had to hire people, and you hired sort of double the number you'd actually use. what is the problem? My listener wants to know, what is the problem among the younger people who apply for work? These are often first jobs, entry level jobs.
Correct.
Right? What is the problem? What is the problem that they have? Put your finger on is it a matter of character, or why can you not keep everybody you hire?
Well, they have to be taught to be a good employee. It's not something that you're born with. They have to understand they have to be on work on time. They've got to understand they've got to wear a smile. They've got to be in a clean uniform. And not everybody understands that. So we have to take a great deal of our time and effort going through teaching people how to be a good employee. So you got to teach them that they got to be at work on time. You got to hold them accountable for being at work on time. They've got to be clean. They've got to be presentable. And they've got to wear a smile. And they've got to say yes, yes, please, thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Business. Yeah, it's okay.
Okay.
It's okay. Not the best, but it's okay. No, so we want please and we want thank you, because we want every guest to know how much we're appreciated. Customers are the hardest part to get. And so getting a customer, you want to make sure you keep every single customer and then get more every day.
Now, say something about Hispanic applicants for work at Five Guys Burgers and Fries.
Yeah, we have a small number of Hispanics working for us. When we opened the Hickson restaurant, we were inundated with Hispanic applications, and we've been able to keep most of those. One of the things that makes the Hickson restaurant so good is we've got 5 crew members who now is my general manager, all from when we originally opened that restaurant. So we've got tenured people that have been with us for 8 years. Yeah, taking care of the guests. So they understand the Five Guys system. They understand how to serve a great product, and they take great care of the guest. And that's Jose at Hickson is the general manager, and he's done a wonderful job.
Say something about the Morrell family. Who are they? Who are the Five Guys?
Yeah, the Five Guys originally was the father and 4 sons in the early 80s. The boys didn't want to go to college. Well, the father said, well, if they don't want to
good for them,
they don't want to go to college, we got to do something for them to make a living. So they took what they used to do in their backyard and put it in a restaurant with the older children and developed the brand. And then they had an additional child. So the father dropped out of the group.
Was that a late arrival in that family?
It was a second marriage late arrival.
Okay.
Yeah. So 3 of the boys are from the Morrell's first marriage, and then the later 2 are from his second marriage. So there's the 5 guys and the 5 children.
You met when they were checking you out, Jim Richards. The Five Guys family kind of wanted to meet you, right? You had an encounter with him. What was that like? Oh yeah,
they got to check you, make sure that you're legitimate. So yeah, me and one of my partners, Glenn Griffiths, we had to go up to Virginia and spend some time with Jerry Morrell, the senior, and get interviewed, make sure we met all their criteria for operating Five Guys restaurants. And that's back when the brand was relatively small. They were selling them like gangbusters. But when we opened Hickson, that was, as you had said earlier, David, that was number 189. So we had our restaurant in Chattanooga was 189 out of the system.
Well, our theory here, Jim Richards of Five Guys at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio, is local economy and the free market. And the argument is we have a little slogan, it's love your neighbor, buy local. And we're trying to get our listener to figure out how that works and to see if you can make it practical. And that tends to make the listener want to favor a local sole proprietorship or a local LLC as opposed to a franchise. And you understand that proclivity of the listener to maybe favor local. You're a franchise. You follow rules. Talk about your supply chain, and then also as you talk about that, talk about how it is you can do some things definitely that are kind of loco-centric.
Yeah, I mean, our restaurants, my partner and I, Glenn Griffiths, both live in Chattanooga. We bought a system and brought that brand to town, but it's all locally owned. There's nobody sitting in a corporate office somewhere far away that owns our restaurants. We own them lock, stock, and barrel. We just happen to pay a royalty to Five Guys to use their name, to use their systems, to use their suppliers. And our suppliers are reasonably local. We use CDI, delivers our products. They warehouse for Five Guys. They're in Atlanta. We get deliveries twice a week from them. Our bread is from the Masada Bakery. They make Five Guys proprietary bun mix. Well, that's one of the things that sets us special is we use this wonderful bread. And that comes out of Atlanta. But then, other local suppliers, they're all, local people that kill the bugs in our restaurants, that clean our restaurants, that deliver aprons to our restaurants. They all live right here in town.
What about banking?
Oh yeah, well, we use Regions Bank locally, but our first two banks, we use Community Trust Bank, which is out of Ottawa, and First Volunteer, which is in downtown Chattanooga. They were great lenders to us when we were building up the company just a few years ago. So yeah, we love the local banks. They're a great help. Wonderful service.
Talk a little bit about your time at Crystal. Crystal is a chain. Who owns Crystal now?
Crystal now is owned by a group out of Atlanta. That company sold just a couple of years ago.
Is that an investment group of some kind, or a hedge fund?
An investment group. Yeah, bought it, moved it to Atlanta. It used to be, it was a group of Chattanooga businessmen, owners that owned the company and owned it for years. And then that group sold out, and it's a group of Atlanta businessmen and owners that have that brand and moved it to Atlanta.
Well, talk about the idea of franchising. You were a manager of the Crystal franchise,
right?
And you traveled around the South. You were gone 3 days a week, traveling to various outposts of the Crystal Empire. What does my listener need to know about the idea of franchising? Because I've suggested that if he doesn't have his own idea for business, that he buy into a franchise. What are some things he needs to know? Maybe traps. What are some things that are just crucial for him to know that he might not know now?
Well, you want to understand what you're getting into. In the restaurant business, you're open 7 days a week. In the Crystal world, you may be open 24 hours a day. So you got to understand that our business, the restaurant business, is, I call it handsy. That means you've got to have your hands on it all the time. And that means, 2:00 in the morning or 2:00 in the afternoon. You got to be in your restaurants working, making sure everyone is taking great care of the customer, because they're everything. But yeah, the thing about a franchise is you're just buying a system that's already put together. All the suppliers are there, the building's there. You don't have to think about it. You just have to go through training, understand what you're getting into, and then you buy part of that system. And then you're part of a system where you've got support. So you've got other managers, other people, other franchisees around them. So if you've got a problem, you can always reach out, ask a question, and there's people that have already experienced a whole lot of things that can help you.
How long was the training for you and your high-end crew at Five Guys?
Well, we went through initial just restaurant training, so we wanted to learn everything there was about making a Five Guys right. So that's 10 days in a restaurant, 10 hours a day. So yeah, you go through the gamut of what it takes to run a restaurant. But your real training starts the day you open the doors. You put a restaurant under construction, that usually takes about 6 to 8 weeks to build out a Five Guys. Then you hire crew about 3 weeks out, and you hire a great deal of people, and then you put them through video training, and then you do actual hands-on training. And that's where you find your great people, is when you're doing hands-on training.
A restaurant is, we would say, relatively capital intensive. How much money is required from you, the investor, to start a Five Guys restaurant?
To do a Five Guys restaurant, it takes $500,000 per restaurant to do a Five Guys.
And is the money that you use, Jim, you and your partner, is that from existing capital, or did you borrow? Did you get an SBA loan for the newest one, or how have you funded this operation?
It's a mix. Use savings and borrow money from lenders. So
when you say you have a partner, does that mean that you two are the ones who receive the profits? It's your two families
after payroll.
Yeah. Okay. But what I'm asking is, there are two owners. There are no others. There are no outside shareholders. Of course, there's the royalty tax that you pay to the franchisor. So the profit stays local, right?
Yes, the profit.
The two owners.
Profit all stays here in Chattanooga. Yeah.
Well,
whatever's left. That's one thing people forget about a business. They come in and they look at the price that they pay for a hamburger, and they say, "Oh my gosh, look at that! The owner must be making a fortune." You don't realize that expenses make up sometimes 95% of each dollar spent. Just goes to expenses.
Well, are you suggesting, Jim Richards, of Five Guys Burgers and Fries, that the margin on a restaurant business is that narrow, 5%? That doesn't encourage my listener to want to go into that field as entrepreneur or investor.
Well, I mean, that's the difficult environment we work in at the moment. Margins are thin. Prices are going. The only price that's come down that I've seen lately is the price for gasoline that goes in your car, but the price of everything else has gone up. And now the price of labor. I mean, one thing now, we see a slightly improving economy. We see the labor pool shrink a little. So that means when the labor pool gets tighter, there are less employees available. That means the cost to get an employee is going to be more. So we've seen quite a bit of growth in the cost of getting an employee.
Does that mean that it's easier to find the right employee? I know you'll be maybe paying them a little bit more, but it is a tighter labor market. Does that favor finding a better person to hire?
Makes it worse.
Makes it worse. Okay.
Makes it worse. The shallow pool.
There's more competition for that worker.
Correct. Yeah, and it's going to cost you more.
Because my listener and I, we've both noticed that all around Hickson, we're the Hickson radio station, there are help wanted signs in innumerable doorways.
Oh, if anybody wants a job, it's impossible not to get a job. If you can fog a mirror at the moment, you can get a job somewhere.
Well, so if my listener has children, Jim Richards, he's got a son who's 18 years old, who's been out of high school for a year, and he's in a job he's not happy with, but he's a good worker. Who does he call at your business if he wants to make contact for a possible hire?
All he's got to do is come into the restaurant and ask for an application. They've got to stack them under each cash register. They'll hand him an application. He needs to complete that application and sign it, and then turn it back in, and someone will call, usually within 24 hours, to schedule an interview.
Well, I think my listener would be happy about hearing that, because many businesses, especially large parts of large national chains, do it online. That's very impersonal.
Right, yeah. You
don't like that?
We don't like online. No, we want to be able to see them. We want to be able to look at them.
This is David Tulis. Caller, you're on the air. What's on your mind?
I'll tell you what, I'd recommend every kid, before they go to college, work in a restaurant. You're going to get life skills that you're not going to get in college. You're not going to be texting. You're going to learn how to interact with people. And really, if they really want to learn how to run a business. And I remember years ago, an owner asked me when I was a kid, what do you want to do? I said, what you did. I want to own what you own. And gave me tips on what it took to own a particular business and run it. But it's not just a matter of getting a paycheck. They're going to learn a life skill, especially in a place like Five Guys. Like I said, I have nothing. I see what they do, how they build the hamburgers. And it's not a normal restaurant. It's in this type of environment where everything's open and you are in front of people. I heard you said that. What a great life skill. You're paying them to actually learn. So my hat's off to you. Thanks.
Well, thank you very much.
We're talking with Jim Richards. This is David Tulis. Jim is the owner of 8 Five Guys Burgers and Fries restaurants in the Chattanooga area, and also in the 3 counties surrounding Nashville. And his is the restaurant started by a family, a dad and four sons, a family that didn't believe in the freezer. And every Five Guys restaurant has food delivered. It's all fresh. Nothing is frozen. Your bread is fresh. Your meat is hand slammed every morning by the crew. And so you'd say that you stand apart from other. You are in the fast food category. Is that right?
Well, we're fast casual. That means you're going to order. You're going to wait 6 minutes for your food. So you're not going to get it in 30 seconds like you get in some places. Okay. So yeah, you're going to wait a little while to get your food because we're going to cook it to order.
Okay.
So when you place your order, we're going to cook it for you, just for you, right then.
Well, this is David Tulis. We're brought to you by Entrepreneur Source, the place to go if you want to get into your own business. Entrepreneur Source run by Bruce Krebs, and his number is 875-5621. That's 875-5621. We're members of Trade Bank of Chattanooga. Trade Bank, the smarter way to barter to improve your cash flow. You trade in Trade Bank dollars. Jim, thanks for joining us here at AM 1240 Hot News Talk Radio.
Thank you, David.
Jim Richards is the Five Guys Burgers and Fries owner here in Chattanooga, and we are the station in which you report and the world decides. We suggest that you support local economy by loving your neighbor and buying local. Have a prejudice as I do. It can't always be explained, but somehow we want the local shop. And Five Guys is certainly a great place to have lunch and to eat out.